Hey everyone, welcome back to the Foreign Language Roadmap podcast. I am Elena Aber, your host of this podcast, and today we are tackling one of the most frustrating parts of the journey. That feeling when, you're doing everything right, but you're just not progressing with your target language anymore. That could be so frustrating, I know. So I'll walk you through why plateaus happen, how to know if it's really a plateau, and I give you even a little bit of my opinion of what plateau is. Not scientifically saying, but just my opinion. Maybe it's a burnout even for you, and I'll also give you practical ways to reignite your progress. And if you have been following my podcast and you're already familiar with my approach to foreign languages, you might already want to create a system that fits your real life, not some textbook fantasy that we often think about. So you can go ahead and grab the step-by-step workbook in the show notes. It's simple, it's practical, and it will help you build a learning routine that sticks. And you will do it without needing more willpower. I've been exactly in that place several times, actually, not just once. And so first one was when I was learning Italian. I hit that phase where I felt like I was stuck. But here's the thing. I was studying a lot. I was doing apps, watching videos, reading, listening to podcasts, even doing language exchanges and going to cultural center. I was doing a lot. On paper, I was putting in effort and hours. I was showing up consistently. But despite all that effort, I didn't feel like anything was improving. Anytime Italians would speak with me, we traveled to Italy several times, 3 times, I think, in that period of time. And every time Italians would speak with me, I would just freak out and not understand anything they're telling me. They just super clunky. So I'd forget words. I knew I reviewed the words, but I would forget them anytime that I had to actually say something. And the worst of all was that I was starting to lose motivation. And that's when I thought, well, maybe I've hit a plateau. But the more I reflected on it, the more I realized that it wasn't just a plateau. It was more like mental exhaustion. I was doing so much in so many different directions with no clear focus and no room to breathe. I wasn't letting myself to just calm down and settle. I wasn't integrating the language into my life in a meaningful way. What I thought was a plateau was actually some early signs of a language burnout, I would say. And that experience taught me that plateaus and burnout can look very similar, but they need very different responses. So let's talk about what's the difference. A plateau is more like when you keep learning, but your visible progress just slows down or stalls even. You've built a strong foundation, but the leaps are gone and the progress becomes more subtle and it's harder to notice and you feel like nothing is changing. Burnout, on the other hand, is a deeper kind of exhaustion. You're not just bored, you just feel mentally tired, emotionally disconnected from the goal that you wanted to achieve. And maybe at some points you even feel defeated because nothing's really happening. So if you're feeling stuck right now, you can start by asking yourself a question. Am I bored or am I burned out? If it's a plateau, it's maybe time to shake things up, change the method, challenge yourself. Add something fun, playful, creative to your routine. If it is a burnout though, then your brain needs a break. Give yourself permission to just stop and rest. Do something fun with the language or even step away for a few days and see how it goes. That insight for me made all the difference in Italian. Once I simplified and I gave myself more focused, meaningful input, and I took a break from doing everything at once because it was just not working out at some point. So once I did all that, I started to feel connected again. And from there, that's where the progress started to be noticeable again. So if that's what you're feeling right now, if you're feeling like you're in a plateau, one of the most powerful ways to get out of it is to set something new, some meaningful challenges, some goals that will give you a reason to stretch your skills and to re-engage with the language in a more different, purposeful way. And here's the key. Don't just default to study time or do more grammar or do more vocabulary. That one leads straight into burnout. That's not progress. Instead, shift towards challenge-based learning. This could be some small specific goals that are fun. They could be slightly uncomfortable and just outside your current comfort zone. And this is where I wanted to give you just a quick 2 cents from my opinion about plateaus. I know how much we love saying that we hit a plateau, especially when it comes to language learning. But I recently came up to a realization that oftentimes what we call a plateau is more like just a comfort zone where we feel good, we feel comfortable, obviously, in a comfort zone, and we don't even want to exit. We don't even want to do anything different that's going to make us uncomfortable, unfamiliar, unknown, and difficult. And we sabotage our own progress by saying that, well, no matter what I do, I'm stuck in a plateau. But in reality, oftentimes we just do the same comfortable things to keep ourselves in a comfortable spot and not move out. So that's my 2 cents about plateau and the comfort zone. So here's what you can do. You can try one of these challenge examples. You can, for example, set yourself a challenge to record a 2-minute story every week. Choose something from your week, a funny moment, something frustrating, something, even a dream that you have, and tell a story in your target language. And keep a list of new words that you needed to look up and use them again in the next week. And I already have an episode, I don't remember, a couple of weeks ago, I had a whole episode on how to use storytelling for your language learning that will help you improve your memory, your retention, your vocabulary, and your speaking skills. So if you like this idea, go ahead and listen to that episode to dive deeper into how to use that approach to get out of your plateau or your comfort zone that you currently find yourself in. The second thing you can do is to speak to 5 new people this month. That might mean striking up short conversations with people at a restaurant, joining a language meetup, or messaging a language partner online. The point is real interaction. But here, Elsa, I can't stay away from giving you 2 cents at every turn I go. I want to give you useful information, but I also want to share some real life with you. The other day, I was walking in the park with a couple of my friends, and we were chatting in English. And all of a sudden, this older gentleman, approached us from behind, and in English, he asked us if we had a few minutes to talk to him in English because he's learning English. Of course, we agreed, but it really felt awkward because we were in the middle of our own conversation, and we're all really busy people, and we really just carved out an hour of our day to catch up with each other. And it was fun to chat with the gentleman, but at the same time, it kind of felt like it wasn't appropriate because we had our own agenda. We weren't just literally trying to burn time. So what I'm coming to is to suggest that you don't rely on strangers on the street to just strike up conversations with. Be more intentional about it, and find, like I said, a language meetup or a language exchange or a tutor that would be intentional and would be there to give you results and to dedicate and devote the time for you and for your progress. So So that's what I wanted to say about speaking to 5 new people this month. That needs to be more intentional than just catching strangers off guard on the street. Okay. Okay, moving on. So another thing you can do, another challenge you can set for yourself, is to read your maybe first, maybe not first novel or graded reader. Pick something just slightly above your level so it's challenging but not demotivating. Reading longer text, like if you're reading something, like if you're like, I'm gonna read Harry Potter, we all like to put this in example. No, don't do that. Again, just pick something that is challenging but not demotivating. Something, it could be more of a children's book. I personally really like books when we travel to the countries that I speak the language of that country. I usually like to pick a book, informative book for children, about Italy, about France and Spain and Germany. I like to pick those books that are with some pictures, with explanations, with simpler phrases and words, but at the same time, it's still informative and it's still a little bit challenging, because it improves your fluency and really helps your comprehension, but at the same time, it's not demotivating because it's like really difficult and complicated. So stick with something that is interesting and sort of challenging, not too challenging, just the right amount, so that you feel challenged but not lose motivation and don't start beating yourself up that you don't get everything. Next challenge is to watch a full movie without subtitles. You can do it with subtitles in your target language. You can push through discomfort. Don't worry about the catching every word. Focus on the vibe, on the tone, and on the key phrases. The reason I recommend watching it without subtitles is because the way our brains are wired is that we will look at the visual, we'll prioritize visual part over auditory part. So you're going to pay attention to the written words rather than listening to the spoken words. And that will work more on your reading comprehension and reading speed rather than listening comprehension. And the last challenge I wanted to mention here is to write a diary every day for 7 days. Reflect on your day in your target language. Even if it's just a couple of sentences, that's already a good step. And then you can share it with your tutor, language partner for feedback, or you can keep it to yourself if it's something you don't want to share. So the thing about all of this is to ask yourself what would feel exciting and maybe just even a little scary to do next in this language. And this is your sweet spot. Growth doesn't come from doing more of the same. It comes from doing something new with intention. It comes from doing things that feel uncomfortable to a certain extent. When you're a beginner, your progress is obvious. I mean, you don't know anything, and then suddenly you start knowing phrases. But then in some intermediate phase, those obvious progress and wins, they start to slow down, and you need to create some new idea of wins. And setting the small challenges, that is what brings back that spark of achievement. It gives your brain a reason to work, to stretch, and to challenge, which helps you stay motivated and makes that progress visible again. Plus, it turns language learning from a vague habit into something more dynamic, a skill that you actively use in real life. One of the biggest reasons that learners get stuck in a plateau is that they're doing the same type of practice over and over and over again. It's like eating the same meal every day. Eventually, you stop liking it at all. If you want to break through the plateau, it's time to mix things up and engage your brain in new ways. And to do that, you can try switching things up. You can switch from passive input to active output. If you're learning mostly by reading articles or listening to podcast audiobooks, you can try adding some output activities such as speaking, writing, doing videos. Output forces your brain to produce the language, which strengthens recall and builds speaking confidence. If you are using apps, which is great, which is amazing, but if it's your only tool, maybe try journaling, which is writing in your target language, or chatting with a language partner. Writing your thoughts really helps you solidify grammar and vocabulary, while live conversations, that is what creates real life connections and that spontaneous practice that makes you more confident and fluid. I want to say fluent, but I'm really not using that word because everyone has their own definition of fluency. If you're learning alone and it's comfortable for you, you can try maybe joining a class, language meetup, online community, which introduces these social dynamics that push you to think on your feet. It also adds accountability and makes learning a shared experience, which is hugely motivating. Speaking of which, I wanted to mention the Language Lab, which is my community that I've been building for several months now, where we have monthly themes, weekly lessons, and daily small challenges that people do and share with each other in the community, and we support each other and we give tips and share experiences, and it's just a really nice and wonderful place if you are looking for a like-minded community of people who are interested in language learning, staying accountable, motivated, and finding the opportunities to make it work for them. You can also try different new formats. You can try focusing on vocabulary drills, try storytelling, creative writing, and if you've only done things like reading or watching something or listen to music, you can try playing games and speaking more and do the opposite activity of what you've been doing. And another really good tip that I want to share is to track your learning modes. Keep a simple chart of your practice, how many minutes spent listening, speaking, reading, writing, and social interaction. If one area dominates, plan to add variety next week. And why I'm saying this is, it's not necessary, but the useful reason to do this is that if you feel like something's not working, you're bored, you are not making progress, you can always start tracking it for a little while. If you've been doing something, sometimes we just don't do anything, there's nothing to track. But if there is something to track, if there is something you've been doing and you feel like it's just not working, this is very helpful because then you can look at it and see where you're losing balance and how you can add variety to your language learning activities. So let's always remember that it's not about doing more, it's about doing things differently. The goal is to shake up your routine enough to re-energize your learning, to wake up new neural pathways, and to enjoy this whole language learning journey again. And here's the mindset shift that can change everything in that phase where you think the plateau happens. You should start noticing and celebrating the small wins that you achieve. You may not feel fluent, you may not feel confident, conversational, but if you understand the podcast without checking the transcript, that's a win. If you make a joke in your target language, that's a huge win. If you catch yourself thinking in that language for a moment, that's a win. It's all progress. Don't wait for big milestones to feel proud, especially if you don't even have them defined. So track your many moments of growth, write them down. You're building momentum, even if it's not dramatic right away. So let's recap the tools to break through the plateau before we finish up this episode. Learn to recognize if it's plateau or burnout. Set new exciting challenges. Mix up your learning inputs and outputs. Inputs is everything you consume. Output is everything you produce. Consume is listening and reading and watching, and producing, and outputs is speaking and writing. And of course, acknowledge and celebrate even the smallest but consistent wins. Progress doesn't always look exciting, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. And to help you through this stage, I've created a step-by-step workbook with reflection prompts, challenge ideas, and a small wins tracker that you can use this week. You'll find the link in the description to this episode on my Instagram at Language Guide Elena. If you're in a plateau right now, I want you to know it means that you've already come that far. You've built a strong foundation, and now you're ready to level up in a deeper way. This stage isn't a failure, it's an invitation to grow differently. And I'm cheering you on, and I'll see you in the next episode. If this episode helped you, share it with a friend or leave a quick review. It means the world to all of us creators. Until next time, keep learning, keep going. I'll talk to you later. Bye.